It's like it makes no sense. I have to
do it.
No,
Meeting, sharing, fornicating.
No, it doesn't make any sense. It's just garbage. It's toilet sounds.
Oh, okay.
Like
Well,
the toilet
we are.
flushes over it?
No, it's just the words that they choose to put in are just garbage. Hold on.
Yeah. Hi everyone. We are discussing uses of swear words.
Yes.
Because we have never made any pretense about this being anything but an adult game.
Oh my goodness.
Periodically.
Now, I have a question, but it's for the audience, which is probably not a place to put it in the after show.
Do it. I love it.
Because
Do it. Respond to us on Patreon. Get interactive.
Yes.
Or in the Discord.
Or put it in the. This is still put up on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Put it in the comments.
Yeah, when you get to this in the comments, yeah.
Yeah. Because only our Patreon patrons get this for a while.
Right.
But I think it's being on this side of the table and experiencing a just dominant fight is much different than on that side of the table.
Oh, it's exciting on that side of the table, isn't it?
Right. And on that side of the table, though, I always felt that it was not challenging enough to the players to be fun. Like, just walking through and just slaughtering everything, it's like, it's just kind of boring and pointless. But it was really fun.
Yeah.
Well, see, and here's the thing. Here's my take on y'all walking through the Harpies. I knew that I was going to get you to the dragon fight tonight, one way or another.
One way or another, she's gonna find you. She's gonna get you, baby.
You know, as you do. One, I knew that was going to happen, which I knew was going to be a much more difficult fight. Two, I love it when something dumb and smart is what breaks the fight. Like, I don't much care for, like, cheese dick kind of fighting, but I love the idea of, hey, massive hippo man who specifically has stuff in strength is willing to take damage and start the fight in order to get one up on them and then crunch a bird lady.
Sure.
So for me, on this side of it, especially for that fight, I felt like it was as challenging as it needed to be in order to force you guys to be clever.
Okay.
I will say, like, on my end of things, as a player, like, first of all, I loved how Undar approached that fight, and so I was like, how would Marlo respond to this? Especially because Marlo really likes Undar and, like, was excited to see this kind of, like, this is like dirty pirate fighting tactics, which is like her entire life. So, but I will say, like, for me, and especially because this was, fully looking at it, like, it's not like we talked about this, and I think we were doing a pretty good job of trying to not metagame, like, if I do this, do you want to do this? We were all just keeping it to our characters. Like, I never felt like we were out of danger. Like, I felt like we mitigated the danger, like, when you trapped them, and so there's like, great, that gives us easier targets. But I'm like, I don't know what kinds of extra tricks they have. I don't know if they can start, like, slinging their own magic missiles at us. So from that respect, it felt like, it still felt like there was a sense of danger and urgency to, like, okay, we gotta take advantage of this while we have that advantage before they get the upper hand and fly in there. Maybe I'm just scarred, because again, I have nearly died in a harpy fight before as a cleric. But
I mean, harpies are no joke,
channel.
especially if they're up in the air. Like, the fact that you grounded them was the smartest fucking thing I've seen in a long time. That was great. So,
Sorry, I was just going to say.
I shot something, kind of.
But it was you started off letting talk happen, and that was great for, tactics and things, and then it just kept going.
so
Which bit?
I will tell you this because I think you'll find it interesting.
I was going to say, this might be the question I was going to ask, so please go ahead.
The harpy is cruel and hungry for flesh, but it speaks common and it can be reasoned with. It is not easy to convince the bloodthirsty monster to change its ways and leave the wreck of the Compass Rose, but if the players come up with a strong argument, possibly supported with high rolls on charisma checks, the harpy cooperates. These tactics are the most likely to convince the harpy to leave. If the players have already reduced the harpy to fewer than half of its hit points, it might flee, which is what I was trying to do, but, you know.
You definitely tried.
I did try. If the characters claimed the treasure from the crow's nest while the harpy was absent, it might agree to leave in exchange for the return of the treasure. If the characters are second level and 2 harpies are present, which is how that one scaled up, it was originally 1 and got scaled up to 2.
Got it.
Characters can play on the distrust between the 2 harpies and might convince them to part ways and leave the area, which I was kind of hinting at with them being sister skipping.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be my question was, is it in the module that the 2 harpies don't
get
necessarily
along,
get
Yes.
along?
It's not that they're sisters, but that they
distrust each other.
Completely.
They've been
allies.
bunkmates
That
for
is
too
fun.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man. So if me, Thomas, playing Undar, would have just continued along the way of maybe we'd just leave. We could have avoided the fight.
Maybe, but you weren't making any strong arguments for it actually leaving.
Well, yeah, I was just trying to make small talk and
which is why I never
distractions because I
Yeah.
thought they had a plan.
Well, then you should have
It come up with a
Yeah,
plan.
yeah.
It wasn't a great plan, but it was a plan. I also love that because we've had many jokes. I think this mostly started with Swords and
It did.
Sages. I'm sorry. yeah, about the fact that like we've had a bunch of shows now where we've talked our way out of fights, and I know I am particularly guilty of this because I prefer roleplay reasons to fight or not versus
Love it.
just like, oh no, bandits. I guess we have to murder them.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that this module, again, I'm going to keep coming back to this because it's a starter set and we're testing it for like
Yeah.
purposes of a starter set. I love that this actually includes a
That
way for
option.
you to avoid combat if you
Yep.
want to try to convince them to not make you fight. But also that was probably one of the top 5 best D&D fights I've ever seen or been involved in because it was just so wildly off book.
It was-
and it all made sense.
It was massively chaotic, but chaotic in a way that, you're right, it makes sense. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did change this fight.
Sure.
Right before game started, I was talking to Matt, and I was like, "Be glad that I caught sight of that dragon wormling mini. Yeah, we're gonna fight a wyvern, and that would have.
Ooh, yeah, I would have been dead.
Wyverns are CR6. It's pretty beefy,
Yeah.
but also, and we come back to the question that we've had before, and we've talked about before. How do you balance fights when you're not dealing with pure CR, when you're dealing with bits, when you're dealing with cards? So.
Well, and I guess it's like because you just said we were gonna have this fight one way or another tonight,
Yep.
and you rebalanced it. Is it like if this isn't giving away too much for the next step or whatever? Is it in the module? Like
Nope.
the thing comes after us and lures us away because that was a thing where it's like. Marlo by default, like I got bit, and I want to know why that happened.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not playing like a ranger or a druid where I'm super communed with nature, but she's very attuned to like the ways of the sea, and so that was just like, what's that about?
Now, as far as the module is concerned, you guys completed the mission when you killed the harpies. The talisman originally was supposed to be on the ship.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that seems too easy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like I actually do think that's a good change. That seems
Yeah.
too easy.
it was too easy, and I wanted to tie it more into dragons of Stormwrath Isle. This dragon was not originally on this island, but it also does help play into the bigger story of what's going on with Stormwrath Isle.
What's the CR on a wormling
2.
green? Oh yeah. And
almost-
it
yeah.
almost
And it earned that.
it could have TPK'd us.
Yeah.
Is the wyvern fight meant to be played at level 2?
Nope.
Okay, just double checking because I was gonna say like
There's
that.
no way.
That seems wild.
Well, and again, that's one of those. How do you balance it
No,
for dealing with the wonderful generosity of our fantastic patrons and viewers?
Yes.
But how do you rebalance a fight to deal with stuff like that so that they're not just walking straight through a fight? And sometimes that means ignoring CR and being like, "This looks cool. If I need to debuff it, I will."
Absolutely.
Because I do hold a little bit to Ezra's idea that a creature has as many hit points as is narratively interesting. Technically, the dragon still had a hit point left. That wasn't interesting. So it was much more interesting to have you run it through and drive it against the wall.
Absolutely.
And it was 1 freaking hit point, and it would have kept things going longer, and we have an early morning. So
Yeah.
I was like,
fascinating.
Carlin might have gotten that 1 hit point though next time. That 1 hit point firebolt.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I'm very curious about what this leads to, mostly because we are like so very dead right now, and we need to GTFO.
Well, and that was the thing that I like. That was the impulse choice as in character. It's like Marlo is not going to just let this thing bite her and run away. She wants to at least know where it goes. But also, if we had gotten up to the cliffs or the beach and you guys had been like, this shit, she would have gone back with you and rested, and then we could have come back.
Right. We didn't really have a conversation about whether we were actually prepared to get into another fight, which I think was clear that was going to happen the second we went down the caves. We just kind of went for it, trusting that the DM wasn't just going to be like, congratulations, you found it. You're all dead now.
Hey, look, it's an aboleth. Good night.
Yeah.
End of campaign.
Yeah. I mean,
I did contemplate whether or not it would set traps because it was aware of you guys and was on and knew you were probably coming after. But I was like, nah. This by itself with how chewed up everyone was enough.
Do wyverns have like breath weapons?
I don't remember.
Because that's what this
what
thing
really got
The breath
you.
Yeah,
weapon
absolutely.
really.
The fact that it like rolled a 6 to recharge or whatever it was.
That was
To
rough
get
when
it
it got the
too
recharge.
off. Yeah.
A wyvern is considered a large dragon. It has multi-attack with bite claws and the stinger, which is a con throw for poison damage.
And all of its attacks are +7 to hit.
All of its attacks
Yeah,
are
that
plus
would've
7,
just
which
wrecked.
would have just...
Yeah, but it also had a lower armor, but it also had 110 hit points, which...
Oh my god.
no.
Yeah, no, that's...
And again,
No.
that's probably something that I would have like halved just to keep it interesting.
Wow, it's hurt because it chomped on Marlo and somehow got food poisoning because of all of her
allergic to
tattoos
fish.
or something.
She's
Sure.
just made of Cheetos. It's not used to eating that.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, comments about the fights?
I think the combo of both of them was really great.
Yeah.
You know, just the danger. I mean, again, even you nerfing this, the danger of this one was.
Oh, this one was not nerfed. I mean,
Oh.
the wormling wasn't nerfed. I just happened to see the green dragon wormling over there and went, no, narratively, this is cooler.
Yeah.
And then I looked it up and went, oh, it's a CR2. Perfect.
You know, I still think, oh, it's got a little brother.
Oh,
But I
there's
mean,
more.
you know,
There's more.
Oh,
things
yeah.
coming. Yeah.
I'm so fascinated to see why you think that.
Well,
way-
I know
the way-
where the
yeah.
other dragon is. I just have to survive long enough to go back and yell at them.
But what kind of dragon is it?
Hopefully a metallic, because it didn't try to kill us originally, but I think I know where the other dragon is.
I think the fantastic description of the scream leads me to believe that it has alerted a
yeah,
fellow
right.
dragon out there
Absolutely.
that
fair
there's
enough.
another
Yeah.
one.
Because you said it, and you said it carried much further
Yeah.
over the water as well. And I was like,
Yeah.
why would she mention the water?
Yeah.
There's something happening. Something's happening.
All right.
In a good way. I think it'll be fun.
And honestly, I think we have so many healing potions
Sure.
that we could.
Well,
But we
let's
don't
not
have
get
any more
crazy.
spell slots.
Yeah,
Well, I was
there's
about to say,
that.
that's the thing,
So
because I've mentioned before,
Done.
I got
We're DOA right now.
yeah.
well, that's the thing that I mentioned before. This is really interesting for me because I normally play spellcasters. Like, that
Yeah.
is my default, is spellcasters. And so when you're out of spell slots, you're just fucked. I am currently out of spell slots, but this is one of the only times where it's like, oh, I'm actually playing a pretty good balance.
Yeah.
Where I feel like, Undar and I have enough melee that we can keep going. But I also recognize that you guys don't really. Like, Corlin has a little bit of, like,
I've got
quarterstaff,
enough,
you've
and I've
got
got-
a dagger, but I know that's
Well, I
not
mean,
really
there's
going to be...
cantrips, right?
Right. We have cantrips. They're not as powerful as our spells, though.
Yeah. I'm re-listening to one of my favorite actual play podcasts, and they had a whole episode where they got into another fight. They got into another fight after already being down, and they split the party in a way that the DM didn't expect. They went, one player with an NPC and two players together, the DM was not anticipating that, so all the fights were scaled for all of them together. And it is a cantrip party. They are like out of spells, so everything is melee weapons and a cantrip party. And this was reminding me very much of that, where it's just like, yep, it's just gonna be Toll the Dead back and forth.
Oh yeah, no, I have been there. I have been there as Andraste when we were level 4 and we had the 3-session day.
Yeah.
And I was down to 1 spell slot by the end of by the beginning of the 3rd day, where it was like I've done my best to husband these, but there's only so many I have.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing too. We're like, oh, it's 1 p.m. on the morning that we left to investigate the shipwreck, and we are ruined. So
That's how a fight goes, though.
yeah.
Yeah. So you get totally out of spell slots.
I have 1 spell slot.
I have 0 spell slots.
But that's because I spent all my sorcery points.
Oh, yeah.
So I've already recouped.
This was also interesting because I very rarely am in parties that take short rests when you don't have a warlock in the group. And this was actually a really great look at why some of the Tasha's feats are really good, because some of the Tasha's alternate stuff and then some of the particular changes they made, I think, is why we all got something out of that. Right? You know, you got arcane recovery, you were able to use your sorcery points, and
Yeah.
well, yeah, I know it's not necessarily a short rest thing, but like
it's
strategy of
I could have done the normal hit dice thing. I still had my extra points, so I didn't bother with it. But yeah.
it's fine. We've still got some dangerous oil and a Twilight Sanctuary for like 8 more rounds. What's the worst that could happen?
And on those famous last words, dear patrons, we're going to call it for the night because 4 of us have an early call time.
And
I don't know about you.
I have a normal day tomorrow, which is just early.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It's like an hour later than everybody else.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for joining us for this. This was honestly one of my favorite sessions to run because I love the creativity that you all brought to it. I love how you thought about the fights, and it's fun to play with. It's fun to play with players who are very intelligent and also very story driven. It is one of my favorite combinations. So it's like, yeah, you know, we can do this thing, but let's try the dumb thing because it's in character.
Let's pierce a gift's ears.
In the boat on the way home.
Yeah.
We're all smart. Doesn't mean our characters are.
Well,
Truer words were never spoken. So good night, sweet Patreon friends, and I'm sure I will see you whether in this chair or on the other side of the table at some point in the near future. Good night.